Sheryl with an S Ralph, the Sheryl Ralph. And here's to Benita's show.
XBluRayne's new music video is coming up later on The Benita Show.
And God told me to look down, and I saw my reflection, and He said, "You, my child, are my greatest perfection." And I'm like, "Nah, that can't be, because I lied and wanted to kill." He said, "But when you come to me on your knees, you keep it real." And I'm like, single woman out here, feels like I just can't get a man. And God smiled at me and said, "Baby girl, I understand, but this ain't about you. See, this is about what I've called you to do." So I said, "Okay, since I got your attention, God, let me ask you a question. Is there any real meaning to me? Because every time, and I mean every time, and I mean every time I try to show someone who I am, they don't like what they see." And God sat down in the snow, and He looked at me with wonder, and He asked me a question. He said, "Do you remember what they did to your big brothers?" Because I knew before time came that my sons, Martin and Malcolm, would be slain, just like I knew about the birth of XBluRayne. See, He reminded me to be...
My left hand is starting to show, and both of my legs are gone 8 inches below my knee. But I'm here, and you look beautiful.
She's also the president of Renell Parker LLC.
This episode of The Benita Show is being brought to you by Stonebrook Publishing Company, where there's publishing with a purpose.
He forgot. Or maybe he didn't care that I was a child, and his eyes was something animalistic and wild. He wanted me. He wanted my 4-foot frame, 65-pound, wearing nothing but t-shirt and panties my mama put on me. Took me out of a bed through a window I was laying next to because of the heat. See, my mama put me there because she was trying to keep her baby cool, not knowing that somewhere in the sick mind of this fool, he had decided he wanted me. I guess I'm here, no, there's no guessing. I'm actually here just to, I feel like that when that happened, there was a piece of me that was left here. And I've been looking for that innocence, that part of me that wasn't supposed to be taken, that child in me that never got a chance to grow up, you know, that didn't get to experience things because of what happened. So I guess I'm just looking for that other part of me, because it's always been something missing.
That's what we had. That's kind of what we had on it.
That's him?
Yeah, that's Chester Evans right there.
Oh, wait. Wow. Oh.
Unfortunately, you know, that's such a long time ago. We don't have any of the original papers or anything so that you can see a better photo. But here is the police report on the whole thing.
Oh my God.
Cynthia, come on up.
Woo!
Hi, I'm Nancy L. Bauman, owner of Stonebrook Publishing. So, you like the thought of writing a book, and you have an idea that keeps rolling around in your head, but that's all your great idea does. It stays in your head. Wouldn't you like to get that book out? My company publishes nonfiction works, but I also coach would-be authors on how to take that incredible story idea and bring it to the point where it can either be self-published or even submitted to a professional publisher like myself. The program is called Get My Book Out, and it offers solid instruction and writing tips on how to produce a manuscript that is publication ready. Using my experience as a university professor and as a publisher, the program is designed to help writers in all stages of writing books. You simply identify where you are in the process and jump in at that point. Whether you're at the very beginning stage or if you have what you consider to be a completed manuscript, the Get My Book Out program can guide you through your next steps and help you develop what you want to produce, a polished, professional manuscript. You know, a lot of interesting book ideas cross my desk, but most of them die because of the quality of the writing. Manuscripts that capture my attention and often lead to publishing contracts are both polished and professional. Why not get into the Get My Book Out program, find out what publishers want, and land your work at the top of the stack?
At 4 years old, 5 years old, she was abducted from her home. Someone took her from her window, through the bedroom window, and she was raped. But she's with us today to talk about the phenomenal woman that she turned into. Yeah? Yeah. We're going to look at a clip in a few minutes, but you went back to your hometown and did an in-depth interview with some of the news people there. How did going back there and doing that interview, how did it help you?
Oh, it actually gave me permission to tell myself that it wasn't my fault.
Wow.
The hardest thing about dealing with that at such a young age is your point of reference and perception is off. And out of everything I remembered, I never remembered anybody sitting me down and say, Cynthia, what he did to you was wrong, and it wasn't your fault.
Wow.
So I carried that.
For a long time?
30 years.
30 years. Wow. During the interview, you talk about why you needed to go back there. You talked about that. Are you glad you did?
I am. I'm glad that I did. It was the scariest thing about it was facing the 5-year-old girl that I left there.
Wow. Wow. Let's look at a clip. Let's look at the clip of that interview.
I'm here for the other young ladies who he raped, and they never came forward, and they never got a chance to point and say he was the guy that hurt me, you know. And I'm here for any other woman that's ever experienced this and didn't tell nobody.
What are your thoughts right now?
The house looks a lot smaller.
Well, everything looks big when you're a kid.
Everything looks, it looks a lot smaller. Wow. He took me out the window. I was, Texas, you know, it gets hot sometimes, even at night. But it gets cool enough to where you don't need to cut the air on. You can put a box fan in the window. I remember I woke up and saw my house like moving away from me, and I said, Daddy, and he responded like he was my father. So I had no, you know, because my first thought was, why didn't I scream? Why didn't I, you know, I was, you know, stranger, but I thought he was my dad.
In that interview, you talk about the fear you had of the window, some different things of the window that the guy took you out. Tell us a little bit about that.
Very much distinctive in my mind was this window. And the way my bedroom was set up, it was just, you know, the wall, but there was this one single window that my bed was laying next to that he took me out of. And for the longest time, I thought I was afraid of the house. But when I saw the house, I was fine. But when I walked in the room and saw that window, it was this rush of fear and anger and all this emotion that I had, because that was the point that I lost my innocence.
Right, right. And you talk about when you actually got in the car, when he put you in the car, what were you thinking? What were you feeling at 5 years old?
I honestly didn't think nothing was wrong.
Yeah.
Part of me knew, okay, my mama don't know I'm in the car with somebody else. So you have that familiar, you know, you're going to get a whooping, you ain't supposed to be there. But I didn't have that fear that you're taught to have as you get older.
Right. Because you initially, you said you thought it was your dad.
Yeah, I thought it was my father that was taking me out of the window. I didn't question anything, which makes this so.
Did you ever, Cynthia? Did you ever receive any counseling after this happened?
No, I never received any form of counseling, and I'm actually glad I didn't, because the process of learning helped me to better understand other women. I didn't have nothing to mask it with, you know. I just had to deal with the ramifications of it and kind of come into my own of the feelings behind it, you know. So I didn't have like nobody told me how I was supposed to feel. So it wasn't all great, but I'm actually glad that I didn't go through the formal treatment I guess this women would have went through at that time.
Would you, right now, do you still have any fear?
Yeah, I do. I know I'm smiling, so that's contradictory to the word fear, but I do. I have this fear of not being protected. I want to feel protected wherever I'm at, whomever I'm with. If I don't care how great of a person you are, if I feel like you would allow harm to come to me, you're no different than him.
Well, you had one message for Mr. Man.
Ms. Chester McEvans.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what was that message? In that video you had one message. What was that message? I can tell you what it said. She wants him to know that he did not win. He did not accomplish what he set out to accomplish. Right. Yeah. He did not rob this world of this beautiful woman who is now an author of 4 or 5 books, chief editor of SWHG,
SWYU magazine.
You know, who is a spoken word artist, who a motivational speaker, and you know, he did not rob the world of this beautiful person, and that was her word for him.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It was a long time before I could watch that video that you're having, ironically, difficulties being able to play. It's hard seeing myself like that, you know, because he gets out in 2 years. He's a free man in 2 years, and
he was sentenced to 35 years. He was sentenced for 30. Now she's 30,
I'm 34.
34 now. He was sentenced to 35 years.
So he gets out, and from what I understand, a couple of years, and it's just like, I wasn't the only person that he hurt.
And you talk about, in that video, you talk about that you were there not only for yourself, but
there were 4 other girls, and I was the youngest. And I don't know if those women are still alive. I don't even know what state of mind that they could be in right now, because there was nobody there to protect them. At least I had some form of a voice. I have documentation. I have court records. I have something that I was able to do, but they had nothing. And that I'm still mad. Even after 30 years, I'm still mad at him.
But you're growing, and you're taking all that anger and putting it in some positive.
I put it in books.
A lot of books.
I do. And I use it. This is what I had to learn. Even though that was a tragedy, and I've made some serious mistakes behind my tragedy, I could no longer excuse my mistakes. I had to make solid decisions, even though those being raped segues into promiscuity, it segues into drug abuse, it segues into alcoholism, it segues into prostitution. There are a lot of paths that you can take from that. But because because now I'm older, you know, they say when you're young, you do things young, but as you get old, you know that there's some things that just really ain't good for you. And I had to make decisions that were the best for me. And poetry is my salvation. It's who I am. It's what saved me. And ironically, there are some women out there with similar stories, and it helps them. And so it's like, it just makes sense to me.
Wow, wow. We've taken up a lot of time with Mr. Chester. Can we roll this clip and see what Cynthia's up to today?
I decided to make poetry a business. And it started off with me performing on stage. I will never forget the first piece I did from memory, which was Snow Salvation, which is like that's my comfort piece. That piece is very close to my heart. And then I just realized that, you know, I write so much, why not do a book?
Well,
why not do 2 books? Why not do 4 books, you know? And so then after the books, I wanted to create a platform for other artists, which is why I did SWIU Magazine. It stands for Spoken Word Addicts Unleashed. And actually, in September, I'm going to have my first printed copy. And I have writers, yes.
Go.
Yeah, it is amazing. So, and the lecturing is just me speaking from experience. That's my whole mantra, speaking from my life and what it is that I've done. I'm not degreed in psychology or sociology. I can't tell you statistics, but I can tell you what I've been through and what I've been brought from. So
you've done a good job of doing that. Now,
thank you.
Rain for Growth.
Yes.
written specifically to encourage women.
Yes.
We need more of that.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Rain for Growth.
Okay, so as I said before, I have a few anger things. So some of my
Anger issues.
Some issues.
You're working it out.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there, step by step.
Yeah.
So my poetry and my thoughts can come off a little abrasive, not meant to be harmful, but I'm very big about self-correcting. And so I do it to myself a certain way. Well, I had someone hit me up on Facebook and they was like, Blue, why don't you write more positive stuff? I don't like your negative statuses. I was like, I'm sorry. So Rain for Growth, Sister, You've Been on My Mind is actually a love letter to women from myself. Every poem and every thought is talking about how beautiful you are, how amazing you are, and how I know what it's like to look in the mirror and not necessarily like what you see, but there's a beauty, divine being that exists within you. Mm-hmm. And so this book is a way of me talking to her. Right. Not the person that you think you are on those bad days, but the actual beauty that exists within you. So this is like, it's actually my favorite book. Because it makes me smile every time I read it. So.
I can see, yeah.
Yeah.
Where can we find your work?
You can find me at XBluRayne anything, and I mean literally anything. YouTube, Facebook, Reverb Nation. I have my own website, but if you put in XBluRayne, you'll see this face somewhere on the page.
And if anybody missed getting the handouts, we have handouts. They have everybody that's on the show tonight, their information and and their websites and all that good stuff. Now we'll take some questions from the audience. Anybody have any questions out there for Cynthia?
Uh-oh.
Well, I'll have the first one.
Yes, ma'am.
The name. What is it? I know it's artistic, so
yes, ma'am.
Explain this name thing, okay?
I'm going to give you the most simplest version
okay.
of my name. My name, XBluRayne, means I cry no more. Very simple. I'm not sad.
That, yeah.
I'm not. I mean, okay, I'm angry a little bit, but I'm not. But you know, I don't cry like I used to. You know, like you can cry from a place of just extreme, immense pain. I understand now tears are meant for healing. So I give myself room to weep, but then I keep it moving. So that's what it is. I was wondering who was going to ask me that question.
So it's going to be, you're giving up something, X, okay? You're giving that thing away.
And I'm not saying nothing's wrong with crying, but there has to be a purpose even in your tears.
Gotcha. Okay.
Has to be. Yes.
You're so beautiful.
Thank you.
Do you have a man in your Have you listened to that? Are you able to do that? Are you healed? You're not doing the tears and
Yeah, that's Breath of Life. Boy, y'all are interesting crap. Breath of Life is just that. When yes, that is his. Yes.
Well, I don't know your full story, but if I could go back and ask you, when you said no one talked to you, no one set you down, what were your parents' reaction that you had time?
Daddy, angry, mad, stomping around. My mother was 22 years old, and my mother is my heart. I look like her. She's a poet as well. She is a beautiful spirit. And at the age of 22, she was still healing from things in her own life. So I think that if she was in the mindset that she's in now, her reaction would have been different. But because of where she was at, she was so guarded in protecting herself. I think she felt helpless in protecting me. So she just went with whatever was going on. I remember her buying me a sailor dress. I remember getting McDonald's Happy Meals a lot. I remember getting grapes, which she wouldn't let me eat her grapes, the green ones. But I remember getting the corner of the cornbread, which was her favorite piece. So in her own way, she was communicating that she loved me, you know. So that's what I remember. Yeah. Music moves me, calms my soul's dis-ease, eases my mind so that I see clearly, brings peace to my emotional seas. See, it drives me, inspires me to think differently. And what saddens me is that many don't know what real music is. I mean, look at our history. We invented the step, the drum beat, created instruments and taught them to play in harmony. No strange occurrence that we have to move our feet when we hear our own natural rhythm and melody. Hear our own internal symphony. Oh, what joy and happiness in our life we will bring. We'll remember those who taught poetry to speak and music to sing. Poetry speaks when music sings its song. I remember Marvin Gaye said, I heard through the grapevine that you needed a sexual healing, so let's get it on. Isley Brothers hit me to some truth. See, I'm a choosy lover, so even though I turned you on and may want to group with you between the sheets, that ain't what I do. Cause Aretha says, I need to think and don't be a part of the chain of fools. I'm a natural woman that needs to be respected. Is that cool? Cause I live my life like it's golden, the Jill Scott way. Take me on a long walk, irregardless of those getting in the way. I say, whatever, cause me and India are ready for love. And the truth is, in my head, he heals me. See, this is what happens when music sings and poetry speaks. All of these musical geniuses are poets turned musicians. Revolutionaries turned abolitionists. With their words they bring change. Love is birth and pain is rearranged. Should nothing seem strange when you understand the perfect union? When music took poetry's hand and said, baby, let's dance.
Upon you. So I think that is the biggest thing that we can do is, number one, to love. But it starts with loving ourselves first.
Yeah.